بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والختم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله وصحبه حق قدره ومقداره العظيم والحمد لله الحمد لله على نعمة الإسلام والإيمان وكفى بها نعمة الحمد لله على نعمة العلم ونعمة الإيمان والإحسان. We continue looking at this book and this topic of da'wah, which alhamdulillah is, as we mentioned previously, is from the primary aims of our religion, from the primary or central aims of Islam and of our lives, is to be people to have this awareness, to have this desire to revive the way of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This is a matter of tajdeed, what we call renewal or revivification, to bring back to life the essence of the religion, inshallah. And we should have that desire, we should have that focus and that want to do that. And certainly there's no better time for us to revive this religion than the time we're in now. First of all, we're in a time when there's great need for revival. There's a great need for people to return and understand the true essence of the religion, number one. And then number two, I mean, just the time you're in right now in terms of this blessed month is a great blessing. We're in this month of Rajab and we're nearing the end of the month. We're in the last 10 days now. So that in and of itself should create within us a type of sadness. Now that we're leaving the month of Rajab, that we should have a feeling that should make us feel like, subhanAllah, there's an opportunity that's closing. There's a vista, there's an opening that's taken place that's allowed us to get closer to Allah that's now closing. We should have that feeling, and therefore, as a result, then turn back to Allah completely and wholeheartedly, with ourselves and with our very being, hoping for acceptance through the blessings of as we come towards the end of this month, and as we come towards the end of this beautiful time period. It's one of the sacred months of Allah, and it's called Shahrullah. Yeah, it's the month of God, and it's called Shahrul Istighfar or Shahrul Tawbah. It's the month of us seeking forgiveness and of the great return back to Allah. So therefore, all of these things we should seek to return back to Allah in this month, and then also seek Dawam Tawbah, permanent and constant Tawbah, constantly and permanently continue to approach Allah in every moment and in every breath and in every second of our existence. We should be seeking to do that. This is why they say that the conversation with Allah, it never ceases. And it should be a direct conversation with Allah, that we are directly speaking to God in every moment of our lives. And we're not speaking to anybody else. We have no focus or no conversation or no real no real interest in conversing with anyone else other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the internal wijha, the internal focus is upon Allah. The internal conversation is with Allah. We live our lives as if we see Allah in every moment. As you said, this is ihsan. Ihsan, spiritual excellence, is a permanent state. And as the Prophet ﷺ said, is that you worship Allah, and ta'budullah ka'annaka tarah. You worship Allah as if you see Him. And worship of Allah is every dimension of our life. So when we live our life, we should be speaking directly to Allah in all moments. And we should be seeing Allah in all moments. This is what brings to our heart presence with the Divine. He is with us wherever you are. Yeah, He is with you wherever you are. And to have that sense of presence, that He's with you wherever you are. We should also have a sense of muraqabah, that He is listening and He is examining our internal nature, our internal state, and our internal sincerity. Yeah, that if you can have these three things as a constant in our life, it brings presence into our hearts. Yeah, that we speak directly to Allah. Yeah, but whenever we're alone, whenever we are physically speaking, we're speaking directly to Allah. Whenever we are actually physically speaking, we're still speaking directly to Allah. Our heart is turned and is speaking directly to Him at all times. We are seeing Him at all times. Subhanahu wa ta'ala, we see Him everything that we do. and he hears us, he listens to us. What an honor it is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to listen to you, and he scrutinizes your internal state. Where's your sincerity? Where is your direction? Where's your purpose? Where's your focus? Where's your cost? Yeah, where are you wholeheartedly turning to? So we have that, and we make that consistent aspect of within our lives, such that we have this dawam tawbah, this constant turning back to God, this constant turning back. And alongside that, when you have human interactions, then we have the Rasul as our guide, as our example and our exemplar. When we interact with others, we have the way of the Rasul before us, and we act like he acted. Yeah, we imagine, we see, we focus, or we bring to our imagination how would the Prophet have acted in this situation, and then we emulate that. How would he have been in this context, in this situation, and then we attempt to mirror that to our maximum capability, to as much as the human potential that's within us, which is vast. Would that much of which is untapped. Would that we can untap and release. Yeah, whether they can release this potential, inshallah, through following the Rasul. So this is how we do this dawam tawbah as we come towards the end of this month, is we focus upon our internal conversation directly towards Allah at all points. That we see Allah at all points. That Allah listens and scrutinizes us at all points. And that in our human interactions, we see the Rasul and we behave as much as we possibly can in the way that the Rasul behaved in every situation. This is what's required of us, inshallah. We ask Allah for tawfiq to be rasikh, to be firm and established on this. We continue with the book now. He's been talking about, in fact, what we just referred to, to interact with people according to the light of this religion. Yeah, that the meaning of this religion is complete surrender, complete, perfect surrender or submission to God. And like we said, that's rooted in yaqeen, in true certainty. Once this true certainty is fostered and developed and nurtured within the human soul, then the natural end result is istislam, is complete, kamalul istislam, complete surrender. Then he goes on, he says, وَمَا أَشَّدَ الْحَسْرَ على من مضت حياته وهو لا يستطيع بهذا النور. Yeah, he's saying, what greater loss or what greater regret is somebody who spends his whole life, yeah, he goes through his entire life without being illuminated by this wonderful religion. This is the sad reality, that many of us, we have gone our entire lives, 30, 40, 50, however many years it might be, and we haven't even had one moment of presence with Allah. We haven't had one moment of sidq, of true sincerity with God. Forget about our whole lives permeating our entire being. We haven't even had one moment. Or maybe it's been 5, 10, 15, 20 years since we've had a real direct engagement and conversation with our Lord. Now, these are situations that need to change. Yeah? These are situations that need to change, and we need to become people who have this presence. This way is وَمَا أَشَدَ حَسْرَةَ عَلَى مَنْ مَضَتْ حَيَاتُهُ وَلَا يَسْتَدِيُّ بِهَذَا النُّورِ. Yeah, وَلَا يَسْتَدِيُّ, he hasn't. Because deen, religion, it only works, it's only relevant, and it's only impactful, and it's only true in reality if you have dhawq, if you are experiencing religion. It has to be experienced. Ma'rifah, when you talk about ma'rifah, the purpose of why were we created? وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Yeah, it says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I didn't create human or jinn kind except that they worship me. And we know Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, the mufassir of the Sahaba, yeah, the mufassir of Quran, the commentator on the Quran amongst all of the companions, who was given ta'wil and given through the blessings and the barakah of the dua of the Prophet was given special knowledge of the Quran. He says, إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ إِلَّا لِيَعْرِفُونَ. Yeah, that it means I didn't create, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he did not create humans or jinn kind except that they know him, because you cannot worship that which you do not know. You must know who you worshiping. Yeah. So the purpose of life is ma'rifah. This ma'rifah is an experiential knowledge. It's not theoretical. It's a direct experience. And this reason is the reason now, because we don't have this direct experience, this is why we are losing a lot of our youth. Yeah, a lot of young people are not interested in Islam because they can't see it. They've never experienced it. They've never seen anybody else who's experienced it. And it's the polar opposite to the Prophet ﷺ. The time of the Prophet ﷺ, the majority of his followers were teenagers. They were young people. The majority of his followers were young people. For us, it's the opposite, because again, we're not showing the haqiqah of Islam. Yeah, people looking at us and thinking, look, they wear Islamic clothes, they look Islamic, but like they're not connected to anything. There's no, are they rooted in a tradition? What tradition? Like what can they do? Like one of our teachers in Tanzania was saying, when you go back to the West, people are looking and say, like, what can you do for me? How can you help my problems? If you can't even help yourself, if you can't even establish Islam, sincerity, truthfulness, uprightness, goodness, istiqamah, all these lofty attributes, if you can't establish them in your own life, how can you help me? So this is where this issue of dhawq, of taste, and truly directly experiencing the religion yourself comes into play. Yeah, so he's talking, and then he says, بل لا حقيقة لإيمان يقول في فؤاد العبد إلا باستسلام هذا النور. Yeah, so he's saying that there's no reality to Iman. Yeah, there's no reality to Iman other than if you completely submit, then you completely surrender to this nur, to this light, which is the light of guidance, which is the light of Islam. Only is it through true surrender that we're able to achieve the true reality of Islam. Yeah, so it's the same thing again. Where's this reality? One of our teachers, he mentioned that he's talking about households. Yeah, so he goes, imagine you have a household where the parents are always arguing. The parents are not in a state of tranquility or peace, and you know, there's always turbulence. So the child in that household, the child is gonna think that Islam doesn't work. That's what he's gonna think. Oh, fair enough, Islam does work, but not for me. It didn't work for me. In my household, there were just arguments, there were just problems. It didn't work. So that's going to become on a subconscious, and it's going to enter into the conscious realm later on in life. Yeah, because it just didn't work. And this is the reality. When we're not showing the true reality of what Iman is, then it just doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, why would me and you, forget about it, why would we be interested in something that doesn't work? We wouldn't be. Because the haqiqah, the reality of the Iman hasn't established. When it's rooted in the heart, then we see great character. And this is the Sahaba. Like we said, the Sahaba were people of great character, every single one of them. Then we see Iman, once Iman establishes itself in the heart, then you see the likes of Sayyidatuna Aisha radiallahu anha. Yeah, supreme generosity. People can bring her like 100,000 gold coins. 100,000 coins of gold, of true gold, can be brought into her presence, and she is so generous that she can distribute all of it out in one go without a thought for herself. Even though she's in need. Because what happens now, these 100,000 gold coins come to Sayyidina Aisha, she distributes them out, and then she hears a voice from her house, from her servant, and she says, did you save anything for us? She goes, what do you mean? She goes, be fasting, and we've got nothing to eat in the house. Would that you had saved one coin for us. Would that you had saved one coin. This is what the servant says to Aisha radiallahu anha. What does Aisha's response? She says, if you had reminded me, I would have done it. If you have reminded me, I would have done it. But she was lost, annihilated in the divine presence. Reality, she was lost in the divine presence, completely immersed in the act of giving for the sake of Allah, in the act of distributing and benefiting humanity. That was her focus, so that she lost her mind in that act. That's the Sahaba. And to a T, like the same thing, Abdullah ibn Umar, exactly the same story. Someone brings him 100,000 gold coins, he distributes them out. Now you could do this experiment with any of the Sahaba. They all would have reacted the same, because they were lost. They had characters established within them. And then later on, we see this in our generation. Look at Habib Qadir al-Saqaf in the 90s. Now we fast forward 1,400 years. Habib Qadir al-Saqaf is sat in a gathering in Jeddah. A man walks in, we don't even know who the man is. He walks in, he gives him a suitcase, and he leaves. They open the suitcase, there's 100,000 US dollars in the suitcase. What does the Sahabi Abdul Qadir Saqaf do? He starts to distribute. He says, there's 2 blocks down, there's a house there, there's a man who's living, he's poor, give him the money. Another block down, there's a widow, go and give it to her. Another one down, there's a poor man, he's got daughters who can't get married, go and give him the money so he can marry his daughters. Like this, one after the other, until it's all gone, and then he bears witness to Allah. Ya Allah, I've given this for, I've done this for your sake alone and for nothing else. Yeah, so this is a modern day, people are still living these realities. Yeah, people who are establishing character, they're establishing absolute mercy, such that people can attack them, such that people can insult them, and yet they are going to always maintain beautiful character. Yeah, they are establishing character traits because they have the haqiqah of iman has become established within their hearts. Once the reality of iman penetrates the heart, then we start to see we start to see these things. Yeah, and this is really what we need today. We need the haqiqah of iman. The age we're living in, no doubt whatsoever, it needs character. It needs the type of character that we saw from those early people. Yeah, 100%. And there isn't anything else that we need more than character. The character is the beginning, middle, and end of what we need right now. We need to become established in this. I mean, you just have, look at the likes of like the sacrifice, even of our parents' generation. Yeah, compared to us, it's remarkable. Yeah, the amount that they gave. And then when you look at the Sahaba and the way they behaved, subhanAllah, yeah, it's like almost, we can't even imagine. You know, look at the likes we have now. Look at Fatima Zahra, Sayyidina Ali, the situations they are living in, and yet they give. Like the famous ayah in the Quran that talks about how they feed the orphan and the miskin. Yeah, they're feeding people in situations where their own family is hungry. And their own family, they mentioned, if you look at the context just of that story, is Sayyidina Hassan and Sayyidina Hussein, they were both very, very ill. And they're actually close to death. Yeah, they're close, and then they recover. And one of the things Sayyidina Fatima Zahra, she says, Ya Allah, if they recover, I'll fast for you. So then she begins to fast. And the first day goes by, they're about to open the fast, knock on the door. Yeah, it's a miskin saying, listen, you the Ahlul Bayt, I need help. Sayyidina Ali, he takes all their food, all of the iftar, all of it, and gives it. He doesn't just give a little bit and keep that, no, he gives all of it. The next night, the same thing again, they'll be fasting. This time it's a yatim, an orphan, they give. The third night, they'll be fasting. So 3 days without food, and the sons, Hassan and Hussein, they're getting ill again. Does that stop them? No. The third night, the most remarkable of all, is a prisoner of war who comes to them. Somebody who was fighting Islam, an enemy of Islam just the day before, and they gave everything that they have, all of their food to him. These are characteristics that are beyond comprehension. These are the type of characteristics that change heart. You want to understand why the people around us all becoming Muslim, because we're not like that. Guarantee you, 100% guarantee you, if you were like that, your neighbors will be Muslim. Guaranteed. Yeah, try it. Try it out. You will see people, because this is tried and tested 1,400 years and counting up until this day and age. Those people are around them accept Islam again and again and again, because they show the true nature, the true character of the Prophet ﷺ. They reflect it and they bring it into their lives. Those kind of people, mashallah, are the ones who change situations, who transform everything around them. And so this is there's no haqiqah without there's no haqiqah to iman without submission and surrender to this way. And being like humbled by this light. Yeah, that you don't believe, this is by Allah, by your Lord, you do not believe until you, like, your differences, what you're arguing about can be decided by Islam. Yeah, until you allow that to be decided by Islam. And then he says, yeah, that this is a beautiful hadith, one of the most important hadith, one of the most important narrations in our tradition. The Prophet says, none of you truly believes. None of you truly believes until their passions, their desires are in line with what I brought. Yeah, until their passions and desires are in accordance with what I brought. If this is love, there's nothing we love more than our own selves. Yeah, the love of the nafs is the great love affair. So if our nafs is in line with the Prophet ﷺ, that's the ultimate. Yeah, that's the ultimate level that you can reach. And that's what's being intimated here. Our cravings, our desires, all of these things, if they can come in line with the prophetic way, that's the greatest achievement. Yeah, there's going to be nothing that's greater than that. Yeah, so this is what he's saying here. So he says, La yu'min ahadukum, and then he says, then Habib, when he's commenting, he says, وَذَلِكَ أَنَ الْهَوَى هُوَ الْغَالِبَ لَعَامَةِ الْخَلَائِقِ. Yeah, because hawa, caprice, desire, the lower self, this is what has dominated the vast majority of creation. The vast majority of us are just concerned with what's within ourselves. وهو شوكة الميزان التي تبين اتجاه الإنسان في الحياة. فإن لكل إنسان في الحياة هوى، وإن لهم في تيسير أهوائهم والسير معها أحوالا هي حقيقة ما يقر في قلوبهم أو وجهتهم التي يتوجهون إليها، ولكل وجهة هو موليها، وقد علم كل الناس مشربهم. Yeah, each person has his own goal. Each person knows a drinking place. He's saying that this is it. This is where we are as human beings. Our focus is what our own personal desires. So to overcome those personal desires is to attain the greatest of ranks. Those people who have overcome their own nafs, their own self. Then he says, فَوِجْهَتُكَ مِنْ حَيْثُ تَوَجُّهُ قَلْبِكَ وَخَاطِرِكَ تظهر في الهواء. أين تظهر بك هواك؟ هل عندك قاعدة تضبط بهواك حينما تريد أن تتصرف أو تتكلم وتتحرك في هذه الحياة? So he's saying that everything that comes to your heart, your thought patterns, your behavioral patterns, all of these things are based upon your inclinations and your desires. And then these desires and inclinations need to be controlled and brought into alignment with the prophetic way, so that the way we eat, the way we drink, the way we walk, talk, sleep, interact, all of it is in alignment with the prophetic way and nothing else. This takes tarbiyah, it takes development, it takes nurturing. This is why when they talk about education, like Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad, for example, he talks about education, Islamic education. He says, if you look at the traditional madrasa system when it worked, you look at the Ottomans and you look at these early madaris, yeah, the Seljuks and what have you. It says, if you look at these types of things, because these educational systems, there are two key elements. There are two key elements. Because number one, they developed sophisticated thought. Yeah, through aqidah, through looking at higher aqidah, philosophy, you could almost call it. Yeah, that they develop logical ways of thinking. They develop intellectual means by which there's no challenge. No matter what somebody comes intellectually, you have the process and the ability and the means to deal with that. So the strength, and they made the intellect very, very strong. So people have the means to deal with any type of intellectual challenge. Full stop. Number one. So the madrasa system developed this to a very high level. They were very sophisticated. So then when they came across deviant beliefs, atheist beliefs, beliefs of other religions, they had a very firm and strong intellectual understanding and rebuttal of that. Number one. Number two, the second key element was every single traditional madrasa curriculum or methodology had an aspect of tazkiyah, or purification of the nafs, of removing caprice, of removing passions, inclinations. Why is that? Because he says, think about this. You could have, so you're looking at an idea, you're looking at a problem or a solution, and you have a number of potential solutions. Yeah? You have a number of potential things that can be done to solve whatever this might be. So he says, now, how are you going to choose the right one? Obviously, your intellect's engaged. Yeah, you're looking at it, but you could have the intellectual understanding and still make the wrong choice. You're still choosing something based on your desires, your passion, your hawa, rather than upon the best thing to do. Why? Because you're not spiritually purified. So they go hand in hand. You have to have intellectual understanding, but you have to have spiritual purification. Otherwise, you still make the wrong choice. You still make mistakes. So bringing this hawa into alignment with the prophetic way is the most important and the greatest achievement of the human being. That every single problem that we see out there is due to a deviation of the nafs. Yeah, the nafs has moved away from the prophetic path. That's all there is. No matter who it is and what they're doing, it's just a deviation away from the prophetic path. That is the essence, the root of every problem that we see. So he's mentioning this. So he's saying, what is it that's making you speak? What is it that's making you move? Is it your passions, your caprice that's making you move? Or one of the you say, is that what's dominating you? أن إرادة الفانيات هي التي تخضع مقتضى هواك ولا يؤمن أحد حتى يكون هواه طبعا لما جئت بك صلى الله وسلم وبارك. So if you're able to do this and we're able to leave our hawa, then mashallah, yeah, then we have this. So he's saying like, what is it that you really desiring? Are you desiring the ephemeral aspects of this world? What is it? Yeah, all of that comes back to the way you're thinking within your hawa. Yeah, and you see that if you're able to remove caprice from ourselves, we're able to remove this desire. This is what removes agitation. Agitation, anxiety is due to this unnatural following of our passions rather than what the soul wants us to do, rather than what the higher self wants us to do. So it's when you see people who have removed hawa from the equation, yeah, what do you see about them? You see they're in a state of inner and outer peace, inner and outer tranquility and contentment. Yeah, like what they call sakina and waqar. Waqar is outer dignity, outer stillness, outer calmness in any and every situation. Sakina is inner tranquility, inner contentment. This is the direct result of leaving behind your passions and not paying any attention to your passions. Once you leave that behind, then, mashallah, you're able to enter into a state of serenity, yeah, which is kind of the purpose of what we're trying to attain here through these lessons. Yeah? What we're trying to attain is to allow people to understand what that means and then to become people of serenity. And then he just to finish this page, فَلَا وَاللَّهِ لَا يَذُوقُ سَعَادَةَ فِي الدُّنْيَا قَبْلَ آخِرَ إِلَّا شَخْصٌ وَقَفَ بِهَوَاهُ وَعَوَاطِفِهِ وَمَشَاعِرِهِ كُلِّهَا أَمَامَ هَذَا النُّورِ. Yeah, that he's saying that by Allah, you're not going to taste true happiness in this world. Yeah, that if you want happiness, ecstasy now in this world, you will not taste true happiness and true sweetness and true ecstasy in this world unless, yeah, you just completely surrender your emotions and your feelings and everything else to this nur. Yeah, that your guidance becomes that. Yeah, and your emotions, everything come in line with that. Then you will experience paradise before paradise. In this world, you'll be happy and in a state of ecstasy. Yeah, one of the things that we notice when you go out to Las of Tarim and these places that and affairs as well in Morocco is that people are very, very poor, and yet they are completely happy. They're the happiest people you could ever hope to meet. They're the biggest smiles, the happiest people, and yet they have no material blessings in their lives whatsoever. So that's showing you the happiness is coming from somewhere else, and it's coming because their emotions and their feelings and their passions and their inclinations and their desires are all in line with the prophetic way. That's why they're happy. That's why they're smiling. That's why they're content. So this, inshallah ta'ala, is what we hope for. Then, inshallah, this is really, really what we hope for, inshallah. Okay, we'll stop there. If there's any questions, inshallah, we can take questions from anybody. People want to ask, they can ask through the chat or they can ask verbally. So. Okay, inshallah. Stop there. وصلى الله تعالى على سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. الحمد لله رب العالمين.